This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Welcome to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Brigari Financial. Hope you're having a great day and that you've had a great week, and we're going to get together now and talk about getting you to and through retirement. My name is Ryan Stutz. Logan, how's it going?
I tell you what, it's going well.
Well, it's a long way of saying good.
Yeah, things are going well, and as always, it's busy and enjoying this time of the year as things are winding up here. But other than that, everything's going well.
888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan about your financial situation. This show primarily about getting you to and through retirement, but Logan, of course, has great partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, and Medicare specialists to help you offer well-rounded guidance and everything having to do with your money. 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. Your number to call if you'd like to get in touch. A no-cost, no-obligation discovery meeting with Logan Sadler. 888-823-PLAN. Hey, got a quote of the week here I think you'll like, Logan. It's from Alan LaKine. I'm not really sure who that is, but this is a pretty smart thing. He said, "Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now." Boy, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
You know what? It really does, and that's funny because that's kind of what I'll say sometimes to clients about. They'll say, "Well, why is having financial planning software or going over your financial plan important?" And I always kind of say it's a good way to really forecast what you think or what roadblocks could potentially come up over the next 10, 20 years and try to address them the best you can now, right? And that's kind of what that quote's saying. And I think that's great, a great way of just kind of looking at how important planning is, and that could be for financial planning, that could be for planning vacations or your life or whatever else you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Logan, let me ask you a question about your own lifestyle here.
Yeah.
When you get up in the morning, do you ever eat cereal for breakfast?
You know what? I wouldn't say I eat a lot of it right now, but there was a time really not that long ago where I'll go through those phases where I'll consume quite a bit of cereal.
What was your favorite kind of cereal? You have a
go-to?
Man,
so if I'm going back to the childhood, it's probably... If childhood was probably Cocoa Pebbles or Fruity Pebbles, and then if I had to say, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Captain Crunch or any of those types of ones are up there as well. I think it kind of depends on the mood and the weather.
Yeah. What about as an adult? Do you eat more healthy cereal?
Yeah, I'll do more of like the Cheerios or whatever, try to, I'm not a big Raisin Bran or any of that type of stuff, but I'll go a little bit more healthy. I don't think it's ever the best choice for health, but I'll try to tone it down a little bit.
As long as you tone it down a little bit.
Just a little.
What can we learn about retirement planning from browsing the cereal aisle at the grocery store? That is the question today.
Perfect.
What about, you mentioned it earlier, what about Fruity Pebbles? Kids love Fruity Pebbles, adults not so much.
Yeah, I'll be honest, even in my adult life, every once in a while on a nice hot summer day in the afternoon, it might hit the spot, but yeah, Fruity Pebbles are great, but I think we could all agree it's pretty much a bowl of sugar, right? With some color in it. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, the bright colors and all the sugar. What's not to love? The problem is that this particular cereal has virtually no redeeming qualities. Mm-hmm. It's, as you said, a bowl full of sugar and artificial food dyes. What's something in the financial world that any logical person out there listening to the show today might recognize as a bad idea, but it's just so tasty that some people just can't resist it?
Yeah, I would say probably maybe like, that classic, Keeping Up with the Joneses, where basically like you see some of these people where they're just constantly adjusting their lifestyle as they make more and more money, maybe using debt and things like that to buy stuff that they probably can't afford, right? So on the surface, it looks like a great bowl of Fruity Pebbles, right? But when you boil it down, it might just be a bunch of sugar. And so I think that's a very real thing you see a lot of people do. And anybody that's worked in a profession or whatnot or had other coworkers, you kind of could see people going through that where The manager gets a new car, you get a new car, right? That person got a boat, you get a new boat, right? So everyone's kind of seen that trend there. And unfortunately, for most of us, it's very unsustainable, right? So I would say that's something to look at, as well as maybe just people that are following trends in investing. You see a lot of people when the markets are volatile, they flock to gold or they flock to crypto, or a few years back, it was like the marijuana stocks when they were going public, right? There's always these types of trends that really, really sound good. However, unfortunately, a lot of the times, those good old classic investments are still probably one of the better places to put most of your money.
Now, you mentioned Raisin Bran earlier today.
Yeah.
Now that on service sounds like a healthy choice, right? Flakes of bran, 2 scoops of raisins in every box.
You would think.
It's basically salad, right? But wait, what does that say on the nutrition facts label? I was looking at a box the other day in the grocery store. It said there's 19 grams of sugar in each serving of Raisin Bran. 19 grams of sugar in Raisin Bran. So what's something in the financial world that on its face seems like a really good idea, but when you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that it's not necessarily as great as you thought it was?
I would say one of the first things that kind of came to mind there was you hear a lot of people talking about longevity and things like that, and you hear a lot of people talk about Social Security and how you should take it early, right?
Yeah.
We hear that a lot, right? Where a lot of our viewer questions on the show, or even a lot of our topics are, when should I take Social Security? And there's a lot of people out there that believe that you should start taking it as early as possible, which is typically 62. However, a lot of the times when you do the math or boil it down for your individual situation, a lot of people find out, well, that wouldn't make much sense tax-wise for me to take it at 62. Or just when I look at the overall financial plan, I might need more of that money later and those increases to really factor in for when I'm ready to retire at maybe 65, right, or 68 or whatever age it is. So I think Social Security early is one of those things, Ron, that a lot of people just think that's what you should do. However, when you run a lot of the numbers and the math, most of the time it makes sense for a lot of the people out there to delay Social Security maybe as long as possible, depending on their plan. Of course, there's times where you should take it at 62. It just really depends on your health, your financial situation, and what your overall retirement roadmap looks like. But again, the majority of us out there, we really got to run the numbers and figure out when is that ideal time.
Now, you're going to think that my life is incredibly boring because I spent a few minutes in the cereal aisle the other day looking at all these different cereals so that we could talk about this. But there is a cereal out there called 1 Degree Sprouted Brown Rice Cocoa Crisps. Now check out the ingredients. I wrote them down. Organic sprouted whole grain brown rice, organic coconut sugar, organic cocoa, organic sunflower oil, and so on.
Jeez.
Look, there's no denying that it's really good for you, or it sounds like it is. The problem is that it's also incredibly boring. Now, what is something in the financial world that's not exciting at all? It may be boring, but it works.
Yeah, that's what's funny. That cereal, like you said, didn't excite me whatsoever, right? But but it probably is good for you. It's funny. So I would say some of the things I always talk about is dollar cost averaging. When you look at a lot of us out there that have a 401k, an IRA, or any type of investment we're probably adding to weekly, monthly, quarterly, however you're adding to it, when you look at the numbers, and there's a lot of facts and data you could find on the internet about it, but when you look at the numbers of just simply dollar cost averaging into a low cost index fund or a specific stock or whatever it is you're investing in, a lot of the numbers still are very unattractive, right? You're not going all in at one time. You're not trying to time the market. You're not doing anything very statistically, correct or things like that when you look at it. But however, when you look at the long-term effects of just dollar cost averaging, buying that index fund over a period of time, it is amazing what some of those results and returns could kind of really go to by steadily buying in on a consistent basis, right? There's nothing exciting about it. I mean, there's no, riding that roller coaster of the fun times and things like that, or no hitting home runs. However, a lot of people find hitting doubles or singles or maybe even triples at times, they tend to work out pretty well over a long period of time. So that was one of the first things I thought of, Ron, when you had said that. The next thing I would say was probably some of those lower risk guaranteed income strategies for retirement income. Some of those annuity payments and things like that. For a lot of people out there, it's really, really hard to put a price tag or a rating on having that peace of mind, right? Knowing that every month I have a paycheck coming in. Again, I probably have other money invested because you don't typically want to put all your money in any one investment. But when you look at the peace of mind that you'll get, a lot of the statistics will show, people that have retirement income that come from annuities or pensions or things like that, they tend to have a better retirement because they're not as fearful of their spending, right? They know they have that consistent paycheck coming in every month. So I would say those are kind of two of the things I thought of right off the top. Yeah, I put you to bed, right?
I'm just kidding. It's not that boring, but it doesn't sound exciting, but
No.
It works. One more I wanted to ask you about here, and this is an easy one: Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger has been pimping Frosted Flakes since way back in the 50s, and he's inextricably linked to the brand. They're great. Remember that?
Yeah.
At any rate, almost any product can benefit from a mascot or a spokesperson, and the financial world has figured this out too, whether it's Tom Selleck or Fred Thompson pushing reverse mortgages, or maybe Snoop Dogg trying to sell us on a variety of crypto exchanges. There are plenty of examples of financial mascots. Now, Logan Sadler, if you are going to be known as the mascot for something in the financial world or the spokesperson, what would you want it to be? It doesn't have to be a product. It can be a concept, a strategy, or a principle that you have. What do you think?
Yeah, that's actually a very tough question. But the first thing that comes to mind, I would say, is, as you know, I don't really favor one particular strategy or one particular investment or anything like that over the other. So like you said, with thinking of more of a concept, I would say having a written retirement plan would be something I would love to be considered up there as one of the faces of it, because I think having that written retirement plan, so few people actually have one. When you really look at it, a lot of people have an investment advisor, or they have a stockbroker or an insurance person, and they've maybe looked at, hey, I've ran my Social Security numbers and that's my retirement plan, or I've ran my pension, that's my retirement plan. However, they're not looking at tax strategies, right? They're not looking at their investment risk. They're not looking at the longevity. They're not looking at any type of future estate planning or things like that are going to come up, as well as long-term care or a lot of these other strategies. So having that full comprehensive retirement plan is just so crucial when you're looking at the longevity of your retirement and how long that period of time can be. So I would say, Ron, I would have to put that concept of just having the real retirement plan put together that's actually customized for you. I would say that would be something I would love to be considered as one of the mascots for.
If you want one of those, well, then call Logan Sadler's office at Regari Financial, 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526. Easy way to remember it is by using the word plan, because we all need one, a written plan to follow and maybe to tweak along the way. But Logan Sadler can put that together for you. It requires a conversation. He wants to get to know you and find out what your goals are, what your desires are when it comes to your retirement lifestyle, what's important to you. 888-823-PLAN. You can have that conversation, no cost and no obligation. I'm Ron Stutz, along with Logan Sadler, Regari Financial. He's the VP and Chief Investment Officer. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. You're listening to The Financial Beat.
Are you worried about whether you're ready for retirement? Logan Sadler and the team at Regari Financial can help. Just text the word advice to 21,000 to take Regari Financial's free retirement roadmap checkup. Text the word advice to 21,000 and we'll send you a link to all of our free resources. From there, you can click on the button for the retirement roadmap checkup. You'll just have to answer a few questions and then you can see how prepared you are for retirement. This is a great starting point for people just starting to think about retirement. Text the word advice to 21,000 to get your free retirement roadmap checkup today. That's the word advice to 21000.
Did you know music is good for the heart? A study at a university in Italy showed that music helps promote a better cardiovascular system. But we also know that a sound financial plan is good for peace of mind. Keep listening to The Financial Beat so we can help you find a plan that both your head and your heart can agree on.
Welcome back to more of the Financial Beat. The beat goes on, as they say. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regary. Regary Financial has 2 convenient offices, one in Hemet and one in Redlands. You can have a conversation with Logan Sadler, if you like, by calling 888-823-PLAN. Get to know him, he gets to know you. There's no cost, no obligation. Logan works with 3 different generations of client families at Regary. Many of those clients have been with the firm for more than a quarter of a century, and count on Logan Sadler and the folks at Regary Financial, an outstanding team there, too, to help get them to and through retirement. One more time for now, the number is 888-823-PLAN. Got a little history lesson for you today, and I know you'll get into this one. It was 97 years ago, November 11th, 1926. U.S. Route 66 was established. It was also known at the time as the Will Rogers Highway. But have you spent any time on 66?
Yeah, I have. I know it kind of goes I don't know exactly where it all goes, but I know it's a pretty long stretch, and definitely have spent some time on it out this way. How about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. When my son used to live in Oregon, and we, I was on 66 at some point. I can't remember exactly, but it's like you said. I don't know exactly where it goes, but I know it goes somewhere.
Yeah, it goes across, I think, a few different states, right? But I don't know. It's a very, very famous route for sure.
Yes, it is. And there used to be a television show, Route 66.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. So, anyway, something to think about.
Absolutely.
Almost 100 years old. 97
That's crazy.
Years. Yeah. Let me ask you some questions here about the things you do. And we see a lot of people who aren't getting the kind of advice and service from their financial advisor that they ought to be. In a lot of cases, the advisor that they have is only managing the investments, but not providing guidance in other areas. And I know that you take the whole lifestyle into account. Let's talk about some of the things that your advisor, as a listener to the show, here's some of the things that your advisors should be doing. Now, what about reviewing tax returns? Is this something that your advisor does? Logan, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's very funny you brought that up because there's a lot of, as I always say, there's a lot of great advisors out there. However, there's a lot of people out there that maybe aren't getting the service and the strategies that they actually need. And one of the number one things I think is most common, Ron, and you started it right off with that, was reviewing your tax returns.
Yeah.
So many advisors, they'll recommend investments or this or that or these strategies, and we don't even know what your income is, right? Or we don't even know what your overall tax bracket looks like. And so having an understanding of what the tax returns are, I think it's great as an advisor. Again, you're not here to actually file taxes. You should be using, a CPA or a tax professional. However, understanding your client's tax situation, to me, I don't know how you could really do much advising on financial planning without looking at that. You look at that, that'll tell you right there if you should be contributing to Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs. Roth conversion strategies, are those something that's going to be appropriate for you? Tax loss harvesting in your brokerage accounts, which can be a very efficient tax strategy. Is that something we should be doing, right? A lot of those other strategies that's factoring in there, it all comes down to the tax return and understanding that. And I think that's one thing a lot of advisors nowadays are not doing enough of, is really focusing on the overall picture, which a lot of that for most of us out there is focusing on taxes.
Yeah, and taxes, that's a really big piece of the puzzle which needs to be considered. And if you have a financial advisor who's not doing this, you might want to consider calling Logan Sadler's office, 888-823-PLAN. Another one is evaluating the fees and costs in your investments. And you and I talk about this all the time, about how you want to be transparent always to make sure that people know exactly, what they're paying and what it's for.
Yeah, I think evaluating your current fees or your cost of your investments is very, very important. And we always talk about, most people are very shocked when they find out the actual cost of maybe some of their accounts or investments and things like that. But I think a few things you should be analyzing, and I always tell people, I don't think fees are bad, right? Fees are not something I'll harp on where you should go find the absolute cheapest advisor or cheapest investments. That's not necessarily the case, right? But I do think it's important to understand what we are paying and what value we're getting for whether it's the advisor or the investments. Now, the first things you want to analyze is, what are my advisory fees, right? Everyone should know kind of what their advisory fees are. The next thing is, what type of mutual fund or investment costs do I have? do I have any annuities or insurance contracts or things like that? And what are the costs involved with those, right? Because those, I think, are kind of the 3 or 4 things that really tend to have the most cost and can have the most impact. And you want to understand, okay, I understand I'm paying for this, but what am I getting, right? Maybe it's income, or maybe it's death benefit, or on the mutual funds, maybe I'm getting better management or whatever it is, right? You just kind of want to understand what it is you're paying, and understanding those costs and things like that are important, because I've seen clients that have annuities and things like that from the 90s or early 2000s where their fees are astronomical, right? And so by having those reviewed by your advisor, or if your advisor is not reviewing those types of things, I think it's super important just to make sure, because things change all the time. And so making sure we still have the right investments and we're still paying, fair and comparable fees to today's market.
Well, one of the big focuses on this show is getting folks to and through retirement. And there are some folks I know that you've talked to in the past who have advisors that they've worked with for a while, and they don't even discuss, certainly not plan retirement income. And that's a lot of what you do.
Absolutely. A majority of our clients, like you said, are typically 55 or 60 or right in that age range, and are approaching retirement, or maybe just started retirement. I think a lot of the times, that 5 to 10 years before retirement is great to start getting those income plans together. And you would be so surprised what I've heard. I've had a lot of clients that will come over to our firm because they're like, hey, I asked my advisor if I could retire, and he said yes, right? And it's like, well, okay, but did he kind of, when are you starting your Social Security? Oh, I have no idea. Where are you getting your income from? I have no idea. What type of tax situation are you looking in? Do you guys have any Roth money? I have no idea, right? So it's funny because a lot of times people just say yes or no, or you could do this or that. However, I think having a real discussion about your retirement income plan, and actually having a retirement income plan that you understand, is extremely important, right? You want to understand, am I using annuities or lifetime income annuities for income? Do I have pensions? Do I have Social Security? Okay, so how much of my income is guaranteed? Perfect. Now you got dividend paying stocks, you got structured notes, you got real estate investments, you got CDs or whatever else you're using, mutual funds, bonds, to understand, okay, where's the rest of the income coming from? And really understanding, okay, am I taking too much out? Am I taking, am I going to run out of money at some point? Or am I going to be just fine? If so, for how long, right? And you look at things like inflation and taxes and a lot of those things that really are going to factor into the overall income plan. So I would argue it's a lot more complex than just saying, yeah, you're going to be fine, right? Well, show me, right? I think that's kind of my thing, is making sure clients understand where their income situation is going to lie, because in my opinion, when you look at your retirement plan, I would say there's not very many of us that plan on retiring without income, right? So income is probably one of the most, if not the most important thing in your retirement plan. And I don't feel there's enough conversation with clients and their advisors about that.
Well, you talked earlier about having a written plan, and it's so necessary. It's essential. Clarifying the target and goal for each of your invested dollars, that's a very important thing to consider. And there are folks out there working with advisors who don't do that.
Yeah, it's funny because some clients will call up and say, hey, I have, $500,000. Where should I put it? And sometimes advisors will just shoot out an answer like, you should put it here, you should put it there. Well, I don't think we should ever have an answer, right? Because we should have a question first, or multiple questions, as far as what is your goal for the money, right? What are your investment dollars? Are we using this for retirement? Are we using it for income? Is it to leave behind for legacy? Are you touching this money in 1 year or 10 years? A lot of those types of goals really need to be established. Then you need to look at risk, right? Are we okay if the money went down for a little while before it went up? Or are we okay if it went up and down? Or are we not wanting to lose any money with this, right? So there's a lot of those questions you really need to have established. And I think understanding each of your investment dollars and really what they're going to be used for in your retirement plan is crucial, again, because you want to understand what the goals are for your money. Because when you have the markets going up and down and the economy doing whatever it's going to do over your retirement or over that time frame, you really want to understand how you're invested and really what the main goal is for that money, and making sure you're keeping those goals in mind when you're looking at those investments.
One more question I wanted to ask you here. There are folks out there who need to have their family goals reviewed, and also they want to talk about legacy. And some advisors don't talk about legacy at all. Of course, legacy is the thing that is really important for some people, but not so much for others. But you help folks with those plans all the time. It's a matter of routine in what you do.
Absolutely. It is one of our 5 pillars of retirement planning that we think is very crucial, and his legacy and estate planning is on the top 5. Because like you said, some clients, their estate plans to spend all their money and enjoy it. Well, that's great, right? However, we still got to make sure we don't run out of money, right? So there still is some estate planning to be done there. And then, like you said, though, there's a large majority of people out there that they want to leave behind money to their kids or charities or grandkids and things like that. So making sure we're looking at how the tax impact, how the investing is going to go, and how we're going to orchestrate the plan throughout retirement to make sure that we're going to meet those goals of leaving behind a legacy. I think there's a lot of legwork that needs to be done there and a lot more deeper conversations. And, these 5 things we talked about, like you were saying, Ron, it is very amazing to me. Most people, as they're approaching retirement, they haven't had these conversations with their advisor. And a lot of times it's because their advisor might specialize in, selling mutual funds or investments and things like that, which again, are very important. We utilize a lot of investments and things like that are obviously part of the planning we do. However, having a much deeper conversation about your tax situation, evaluating your fees, discussing your income plan, looking at your legacy and estate plan, those things are absolutely crucial and can really make a much more comprehensive plan when you dive deeper and have those conversations. And that's why a lot of people are, giving us a call. And again, there's a lot of other great advisors out there. However, a lot of people are giving us a call because we do go through a lot of these types of topics, and understanding that in our discovery meeting, we really just spend about an hour getting to know what it is you and your family are trying to accomplish. When are you retiring? Is it 5 years or 10 years or next month, right? What is your income goal? What is our biggest fears and concerns for your retirement plan? And really making sure that you have that customized retirement plan that is not just built to get you through a few years, right? But it's also built to get you to and through retirement, which could be a 10, 15, or 20-year time frame that you need to be prepared for. So if you're one of those people out there wondering if you're in a good spot or if you should be making any changes, or maybe if you should start getting a retirement plan together, go ahead and give us a call. I'd love to sit down, spend an hour with you myself, whether it's on a Zoom call or a phone call, and see if we'd be a good fit to help get you to and through retirement.
Yeah, people are living longer these days, that's for sure. And you want to make sure that you have enough money so you don't have to lie awake at night worried about outliving it. 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526. That is the number to call for Regary Financial, with 2 convenient offices, Redlands and also Hemet. And you can have a conversation with Logan Sadler. It's not going to cost you anything at all and not going to carry with it any kind of obligation. We call it a discovery meeting. You discover things about him. He discovers things about you. You get some answers to some of your basic questions. And if you like, you can decide to move on from there. Logan Sadler also has an outstanding team of folks at Regary Financial who are already willing and able to help you get to and through retirement. One more time, that number, 888-823-PLAN. I'm Ron Stutz. He's Logan Sadler. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. You're listening to The Financial Beat.
At the end of the day, no one truly understands your financial wants and desires better than you. That's why it's important to have financial independence. This means you can work when you want, you know exactly where your income is coming from, and most importantly, your finances are stable. If this sounds like something you want, well, text the word advice to the number 21000, and Logan Sadler and his team at Regary Financial can provide you with their free guide on achieving financial independence. The free guide will show you how to create an action plan for getting to where you want to be. It'll explain how to calculate a financial independence goal, and it'll define what an ICE egg is and why it's so important. Download it now by texting the word advice to the number 21000. Again, text the word advice to the number 21000 to gain your financial independence today.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Sadler is here. He's the Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regary Financial, serving you in Southern California, wherever you happen to be. And there is this radio show, of course, on the air every week. We really enjoy doing it. You can get in touch with Logan Sadler for a conversation. I'll give you that number in just a moment. But let me tell you also that there are podcasts available out there, a whole bunch of them. And this is for the express purpose of, if you've missed previous shows, you want to go back and listen to some, or if you have a particular topic that you're concerned about. Logan Sadler has a lot of YouTube videos that he's painstakingly put together, and they're quite good, I think. A lot of good information there. How do folks get all that information from YouTube?
Yeah, you could just head over to the YouTube platform and type in The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. It'll take you right there to the YouTube channel, where, as Ron said, we upload one a week for you to check out there. And a lot of them are, some of the more popular ones are, how much should you have saved for retirement by age 60? What's the best age to retire? 4 crucial tax strategies for retirement planning, right? A lot of those things that most of you guys are actually asking questions about on the radio show, or even replying on the comment section on the YouTube channel. We're making those videos for you. And again, most of those are 3 to 5 minutes long, and they're just great, short, educational content for you to check out. So head over there to YouTube, type in The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, and click like and subscribe, follow along, and hey, even let us know some other videos you might want us to do.
A lot of good information there, that's for sure, and it's absolutely free of charge, of course, and they're really quite good, I think. The Financial Beat number for Logan at Regary Financial is 888-823-PLAN. You want to have a conversation with Logan one-on-one? That's the number to use, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Now, let's talk about values-based planning. Putting together a solid retirement plan isn't just about dollars and cents. You need to determine what really matters to you. And I'm going to ask Logan here to give us some examples of clients who have wanted to build their plan around one of these things that they place a high value on. First of all, there are folks who nothing is more important to them than their family, and they want to base their whole plan about what's good, not just for them, and not just for their wife or husband, but also for the entire family. And Logan, I know you deal with that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first ones that came to mind actually on that topic is not one you would typically kind of think of. However, one of our more recent clients, her and her husband, one of their big goals was, obviously they wanted to make sure they were really worried about their retirement plan. Her and her husband have done a great job of saving and kind of putting themselves in a really great spot, as she said, accidentally, right? They just kind of put some money away and things kind of went right for them, and all of a sudden they're getting ready to retire and they're going to be in a great spot. One of the big things they wanted to do, Ron, was they didn't grow up with a lot of education in the financial world, right? And so one thing that was very important to them was they actually wanted their kids to be part of a lot of the process and conversations.
Yeah.
And so, and not just necessarily making the decisions for the parents, but however, just they wanted an advisor that was going to be able to communicate and understand and help their kids along, and also be able there to provide them some education and things like that as well, because the most important thing was they had built a really great retirement and really great overall net worth, and they're going to be in a situation where even if they didn't want to, probably they're still going to leave behind a pretty good chunk of money, and they wanted to make sure their kids were ready for it, right? That was their biggest thing, was leaving behind a legacy for their family, making sure their family was taken care of, and he was retiring early to spend more time with the family. So, I couldn't say family more times in a row than I just did, right? And that was the best part about it. And the funny part was, though, is like she said, is she really wants her kids to be involved in understanding how to invest, what they should be doing, and really getting them set up before they were kind of ready to turn the keys over, so to speak, right? So I think there's a lot of different people out there that have different scenarios like that.
There are some people out there who the most important thing in their lives is faith. They're totally dedicated to their church or synagogue or whatever the case may be, whatever the religion is, but they want everything based around their faith. And I know that you have some folks who are like that as well.
Yeah, it's that's one thing I think a lot of us, I always say, no matter what walk of life you come from, I think a lot of us could appreciate that in some realm, right? Whatever faith it is.
Sure. And
it's one thing where we deal with a lot of people in that realm where one of their main goals is, make sure they're taken care of and all that, but also they're very passionate about their churches or their religious beliefs. And so that comes down to two things. One is that means how they invest, right? Some of them are very aware of where they're putting money and what they're investing in, and they don't want certain things and things that they might not be passionate about, right? And I think a lot of us can understand and relate with that. And that's something where we deal a lot with clients and making sure that we're investing in things that they're passionate about and something that fits their beliefs. But also when looking at leaving money behind and giving money to their charities or their faith-based churches and things like that, there's a lot of different ways to organize things correctly to where you can give money very tax efficiently to your church or your place of business, we'll call it, where you could actually really help yourself out, but also help them out in a good way. And I think a lot of people are very cognizant of that nowadays, and it's became a big talking point with a lot of our current clients.
I know that a lot of people you deal with are saying that they absolutely love their career. They enjoy going to work every day and say they don't see themselves ever retiring, but you have folks like that, right?
Yeah, I would say it's more normal now than probably a few years back, because It's funny because when you said that, I thought of probably 5 clients that popped in my head that I'm working with currently that are, well, all of them are well past where they could have retired. Some of them, they are 65 or 70 or 75, and they could have retired maybe 10 years ago, and they're still working. And the reason why is they're very passionate about their career. I have a lot of nurses that tend to work a long time, and they'll say, I'll go to part-time or per diem or things like that. And then they stay on, they say, I'll do it for a year or two. And they end up doing it for 5 or 10, And I think having those types of careers that you're very passionate about, I think that's really all you could ask for as far as when you found your first job. I think a lot of us could agree. Most of us probably didn't like our first job, right? I mean, I don't know about you, Ron, no. But my first real job actually was umpired baseball, and then the next one, my actual real job was washing dishes at a diner, and then moved on to cook. So
I'm going to guess which one of those you like better.
Yeah, it was definitely the baseball thing, right? However, they both weren't like the best thing in the world, right? But it's funny when you're lucky enough to find a career that you are passionate about and want to do for a long time. I think that is very important. However, balancing that with your family and things like that is a real struggle for some people. And as you get closer to retirement, a lot of those conversations got to be had of, how much more money do we need? If we're working, why are we working? What is it because we don't know what to do with our time, we're short on money, or we just want to, right? Mm-hmm. So I think having those conversations is extremely important, and that's one thing we're very equipped with here is having those conversations and really finding out how to deal with that throughout the retirement plan.
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, 888-823-PLAN, your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan about anything having to do with your money. Let's talk about charitable giving. You talked about folks who are really into, their places of worship, whatever that may be, and they might want to leave money. They're really anxious to spend a lot of money to that particular entity, church, synagogue, temple, whatever the case may be. But also, there are folks who have other charities that they're passionate about, whether they're really into helping animals or whatever the case may be. Charitable giving is a big part of the puzzle, too.
It is, yeah. We have a lot of clients where, I probably have had 2 or 3 conversations this week about that, where one of the big things is, okay, Logan, when you look at RMDs, a lot of us have required minimum distributions that come up. I don't really need the money, though, and I don't want to pay any taxes on it. And then it's like, by the way, I give, $10,000 a year to this charity. It's like, whoa, hold the phone, right? So what if we were able to give your RMD to the charity, counts as your qualified, distribution from your IRA, but also it was tax-free to the charity, right? Sure. And you didn't pay tax on it. There's a lot of different strategies like that. And there's many more where we work with tax people and professionals in that to make sure we're going about that because like you said, Ron, a lot of people have charities and things like that they're passionate about. It might be Boys and Girls Clubs. It might be animal shelters. It might be a lot of these different organizations, and there's a lot of them all around that do really great things for the community or whatever organization they're representing. And a lot of people are passionate about giving to that, and there's a lot of ways that an advisor could help in that scenario to make sure you're really able to accomplish that in your plan.
Now, one more category of folks here, and I know you have some of these as well, they just want to have fun. They just want to have fun in their retirement. They want to, travel around the world to exciting places. They want to go to a lot of concerts. They want to eat great dinner out every night and all that kind of thing. Yep. And they're just all about the fun, and I know you have folks like that.
Well, you just described me of what I want my retirement plan to look like, right? Everything you said there, I'm in. Concerts, food, everything was in.
Me too.
But, there's a lot of people where maybe they've, I don't want to say missed out or I use the word focused, right? Maybe they've been very focused the last 20 or 30 years on working, raising kids, things like that might be very stressful and a lot of work. Now they're at a point where they want to relax and have fun. Like you said, Ron, we have clients where I always joke they're harder to get a hold of now than when they work 60 hours a week, right? Yeah. They're taking. I have clients that do those cruises to Australia. They're gone for 30 days, right? They're having a blast. And I think that's something that a lot of us dream about in retirement. And it's awesome when we're able to put together a plan where people are able to do that. However, we want to make sure we're not having too much fun, right? We want to make sure it's within bounds of the retirement plan and making sure you understand how that could flow in retirement. But again, that's something I think a lot of us envisioned our retirement is having those fun times, whether it's with grandkids and things like that, or whether it's, like you said, traveling, eating, going to concerts, stuff like that I think a lot of us enjoy. But I think understanding how that's going to factor in is super important.
If you want to have fun in your retirement and you want to be in a position where you don't have to lie awake worried about outliving your money, call Logan Sadler. Get a conversation going. Find out what you need to know. Maybe get some answers to some of your basic questions. It's not going to cost you anything and not going to obligate you to do anything at all beyond that. 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Your number to call for Regary Financial. 2 convenient offices, one in Hemet, one in Redlands. You can have a conversation with Logan that's not going to cost you a cent. So why would you not take advantage of the opportunity? It's something he offers to all the folks who listen to this show. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make all that happen. I'm Ron Stutz. He's Logan Sadler. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. You're listening to The Financial Beat.
This is The Financial Beat.
We're back now with more of The Financial Beat. I'm Ron Stutz. He's Logan Sadler, and I always enjoy these conversations with Logan every single week, and I'm going to ask him a fascinating question in just a moment to peel back the layers of his sparkling personality. The number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan to find out for yourself, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. 888-823-PLAN. That number is for Regary Financial. All you got to do today is call, leave a message with your name and phone number. You'll get a call back, and then it will be on. You can have a conversation with Logan that won't cost a cent. So take advantage of that opportunity today. Now back to the star of this show, Logan Sadler. Logan, let me ask you this question. This may be embarrassing. I don't know if you even want to answer this. But
I'm excited now.
kind of a getting to know you type question. What's your go-to karaoke song? Do you have one?
Well, you'd be surprised. Somebody that's on the radio here, I have a horrible singing voice. And by horrible, I mean catastrophic. But if I absolutely had to, I think when you do karaoke, you either got to put the crowd in their feels on the slow side, or you got to give them something that's energetic, and you really can't mess up, right? So I would say there's probably 2 things that come to mind. I would probably say Bon Jovi, right? Wanted Dead or Alive. I mean, who doesn't know the song, whether you want to or not? Gets the crowd going. And I'd say probably Billy Idol, Rebel Yell, right? Those 2 songs, I mean, everybody's heard them a million times, so everyone's going to sing along, and hopefully they won't hear my voice as loud.
My goodness. Well, mine would be All Right Now, Baby, It's All Right Now, Free. Paul
That's
Rogers,
great.
one of my favorite singers.
Love it.
All right. Well, hey.
That's a fun one.
Didn't mean to embarrass you on the show today, and I won't ask you that question anymore.
Well, you only would embarrass me if you made me sing it, right?
All right, let's go to the mailbag. We got a good question here today from Susan in Cabazon. And Susan says, this was never something we actually planned to do, but it seems inevitable that we're going to be leaving a nice chunk of change to our kids when we pass on. Part of me wonders if we should start giving them some money each year now, so they can probably use it right now a lot more than they will later. But I also don't want it to become something that they expect every year. Don't want them to take it for granted. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great spot to be in, right? I mean, and one thing I always say is my biggest thing on this, Susan, is one thing I would really, really want to focus on is really understanding, are you going to be okay, right? Do you have more than enough money now to where if we started gifting, it's not going to hurt your situation? And a lot of people think, and I mean this kindly, just from my experience, where a lot of people think they have more than enough money. However, if a long-term care situation or if a spouse passed away, we might have to replace pensions or income or Social Security or things like that. So really, the first thing I would look at is, are we really going to be okay, right? If worst case scenarios, things started to come up, are we going to be in a situation where we wouldn't have to borrow that money back, right? Making sure that we're in a really good situation, looking at all of the ins and outs of the plan. And then if we come to an agreement where, okay, you know what, we are going to be fine, even if these worst case scenario type situations popped up, we are going to be fine. So why don't we start gifting X amount per year or whatnot to kids? And I have a lot of clients where we do that. And there's obviously ways to go about it, looking at with your tax person and things like that, and I'm partnering with us. There's certain things that might be better to gift to them, and depending on your age and things like that, there's a lot of really great strategies. And I think getting that set up is something that's great. And I totally agree with what you're saying, where you don't want kids or grandkids to get used to it, right? Yeah. You don't want them to expect where, hey, I don't have to work in December because, mom or grandma gives me $20,000 every December, right? So you want to make sure there's ways to go about it, and there is. and making sure there's ways tax-wise where it makes a lot of sense for you and things like that. So yeah, definitely would love to go through that with you. But first part, let's answer those first 3 or 4 questions first about your scenario, making sure you're covered through any of those worst case scenarios. And then definitely, I don't think it's a bad idea to get a plan together on the gifting side.
Yeah, it's like when you're on a plane, you pull your oxygen mask down and put it on first before you help other folks. You got to make sure you're okay yourself. Mike says, Logan, I just got a letter along with a packet of about 30 pages telling me that a pension plan from an old job is now eligible to be taken as a lump sum. I can't possibly comprehend all the details contained in the 30 pages, so what should I be paying attention to here?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Mike, for writing in. And yeah, we talked about this briefly here in the earlier segments on today's show, but yeah, that's one of those things that could be very, very confusing for most people. You're going to have a lump sum option. You're probably going to have a monthly option. And really what you want to do is pay attention to what are some of the details in the lump sum option. And also, I would highly, highly recommend anybody out there that gets a lump sum option or even any type of pension election, you want to make sure you're meeting with the financial advisor to go over how are some of those scenarios different, which one's better for you, as well as if you took the lump sum, that's great, right? Now you have $200,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. What are you going to do with it, right? How is it going to create income for you like that pension would have? And what are some of the best places to replace income? So I think it's super important, Mike, when you're at this point where you want to make sure, give us a call. I'd be happy to kind of sit down with you. We can go over the whole packet with you and summarize it in some simple terms because, again, I understand those pages can be, not pages, I would say dictionary, right? Could be rather long and lengthy. Really? And that's exactly what we specialize in, where we can help go through that packet, help explain to you where you're going to understand it, and also tell you some options of where we think might be the best election for you to pick.
Mike, glad you asked the question. The number one more time to call Logan Sadler and get a conversation going with him about this particular situation, 888-823-PLAN. Next question here is from Chrissy in Temecula. Chrissy says, my parents left their entire estate to me because they felt that my brother wouldn't be able to be responsible with it. But we had sort of an unspoken understanding that I would make sure he's taken care of. I'm told that I can't give him large sums of money without incurring tax issues. So what's the best way to take care of him?
Yeah, that's a complex situation there, and good for you for still wanting to do the right thing and all that stuff in your situation. And one thing I always tell clients is there is some very specific gifting rules and things like that might apply. Also, you probably have different types of money that was left behind, right? Some of it might be 401k money, which is taxed a little differently, and there's some rules that will apply there. Some of it might be house sales or rental income or cash in the bank or a brokerage account. All of that might have a little bit different of a way where we can gift money. And I think it's super important. One thing we do is we believe in having a good team. So we actually work with a lot of different CPAs and tax professionals where we could help loop into the process of what are some of the best gifting strategies, how much are we wanting to gift, what's the overall goal, and as an advisor, figuring out how each of these investments might be taxed a little bit differently to figure out the best approach for you and also your brother. So definitely that would take a lot of peeling back on the onion, I'll say. So give us a call and I'd be happy to kind of loop you through the process and also kind of bring in to it if needed some professionals to help guide us a little bit further.
Chrissy, call that number today and set up a time to talk with Logan because it's very important you make the right decisions on all of this. Ben says, I have an MBA and I understand investments well, but I've always handled my portfolio myself instead of having any professional help, and I've always done well. In your honest opinion, is there really any reason for me to work with an advisor?
Yeah. No, great question.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
No, great question. And one thing I always tell people is there is some people out there that have they're very smart. They're very in the know about investments, the economy, all of that stuff, right? And they probably could do pretty well on their own by creating a financial plan. With that said, I always tell people the value of having an advisor is really, really hard to measure, right? A lot of people go, oh, well, I'm going to pay you 1% or 2% or a planning fee or whatever it is, right? How do I know I'm going to get that back in return? That's really what a lot of people's questions are about using an advisor, as well as what if I don't want someone telling me what to do with my money and things like that, right? One of the things I always say is, you can do a lot yourself. You have access to stocks, you have access to bonds, you have access to cash alternatives, a lot of different investments where you could probably do pretty well. But you probably don't have access to structured notes, right? Structured notes can be a great asset class for creating income or for diversification. You probably don't have access to private equity or private equity real estate REITs. probably don't have access to annuities for income, safety, and some alternative investing, right? So there's a lot of different, or insurance products like IULs for tax-free income and things like that in retirement. So there's access to a lot of things that most people don't have, especially if you're doing it yourself, because you probably need a license to do those. So it allows you to have access to stocks and bonds and mutual funds and things like that, which are very important and can be good in a retirement plan. But it doesn't give you access to everything out there, which might be needed depending on your situation to help create that official, that comprehensive retirement plan. As well, not having the guidance and the person or the team behind you to help making sure we're looking at this not just very, very micro, but also very macro, right? Making sure we're looking at not just the small things, but also the big things, and making sure we're understanding things like taxes, right? Things like Roth conversions, estate planning, all of those other things that can be a lot more complex than just, this is a good stock, it's done well, right? And so I think that's a lot of the value that a financial advisor and a financial team should be able to bring to the table. Yes, you should have access to probably some more investment alternatives and things you might not be able to use on your own, but also having someone to help guide you, give you the counsel, and making sure we're looking at some of those other items that sometimes get missed in a retirement plan that can really make a difference or make or break a plan throughout your retirement. So that's some of the value I think, Ben, that an advisor can offer. And that's why we offer, for those of you listening, that complimentary discovery meeting where you can come into our office, come in, let's sit down or via Zoom, and we can kind of go through what your situation is, what you're trying to accomplish. And I can actually put together a full retirement roadmap for you of showing you, here's some things I think we should do differently. Here's how we would do things if we were your advisor. Here's maybe the savings you might have. Here's the taxes we might want to look at, and all of that into one financial plan to show you the value that Regalia Financial and our team could bring to your family's retirement.
Next question here, Neil in Highland. And Neil says, I have some stock I was thinking I ought to sell. It's grown a lot over the last 10 years. But somebody pointed out that I'm going to have to deal with a lot of capital gains taxes if I do that. Logan, should I not sell this stock after all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first off, I always say, who doesn't like to make money, right? That's awesome. You made some money on a stock, it's done well over the last 10 years. That was the whole point of putting money away, right? Now, depending on what stock it is, there might be a little bit different of advice there. But the normal scenario is if it's somewhere where you feel like, hey, I've done well off this, I feel like it's a good amount of money I've made. Typically, if it's a stock that might be going down in value recently or in the near future, I always say it's probably better off to pay a little bit of taxes than maybe lose money, right? Or if it's one of those stocks that maybe you wanted to it became too big of a position of your account. Like I have some clients where they bought Apple stock or Microsoft or any of these big companies over the last 10 or 15 years that have done just extremely well. And they, maybe it was only 30% of their portfolio and now it's, 70% because it's grown so much. So that might be another reason to sell. And one thing about taxes is I always say you're only paying taxes because you made money, right? That's a good thing. But understanding how your capital gains rates and things like that will work, I think is important. So give us a call. I'd love to kind of walk you through some scenarios of how that would look. And maybe it makes sense, but depending on your income, to sell some this year and next year versus just selling it all at one time. There might be some benefits to that as well.
Okay, one more question today. It's from Walt in Loma Linda. And Walt says, I've learned that I can draw a spousal benefit on my ex-wife's Social Security as long as I don't get remarried. However, I now find myself wanting to marry my longtime girlfriend. Is it worth not getting married so that I don't lose this spousal benefit? Part of that may depend on how your longtime girlfriend feels about it.
That's a great point there, right? There might be more, like I always say, there's not always just a financial end, right? There's also that emotional and household end, we'll call it.
Exactly.
This is a tough one because I want to see your Social Security statements as well as looking at what your spousal benefit would be. And obviously the financial advisor and me would be analyzing it that way. The other question would be is if we are going to get married or we want to get married, that's the big thing, like you were saying, Ron, is that's something you really, really wanted to do and financially it's not going to hurt you too bad. It might make sense to get married, right? But I think analyzing the pros and cons would be important, and I can't really do that without seeing some of the specifics there. However, I believe it or not, this is not a very uncommon question. I get this quite a bit, and it's something you really want to look at and go through both ends to make sure it makes the most sense financially and, like you said, for the relationship side.
Well, good questions today, Logan, from our listeners, Susan, Neil, and Walt, and a lot of other folks out there have questions that they'd like to get answered. And one of the ways to get answers to some of your basic questions is by having a discovery meeting with Logan Sadler. And Logan, when someone calls and they leave their name and their phone number and they get a call back and they arrange the time to have a conversation with you about their individual financial situation, how does that conversation go?
Yeah, like you said, Ron, they just give us a call, leave a voicemail, and somebody from my office will reach out to you first thing Monday morning. And they'll schedule a time for you to come in, sit down with myself, or jump on a Zoom call, whatever's easier for you. And basically what we do at that meeting is we really do just what we talk about on the show. We go through your financial situation. We want to understand what are you trying to accomplish? What phase of life are you in? What type of strategies and things like that interest you, but also what are your biggest goals and concerns with your retirement plan? And what are you either not getting from your current advisor that you were wanting to achieve, or what do you think an advisor should be doing for you, right? And understanding really where our role and how we fit into your overall retirement plan, because there's so many things going on in the world right now, right? You got interest rates going up or down. You got the markets going up or down. You got tax rates. Are they going up or down over the next decade? And there's so many of these things floating through the air, and a lot of people are looking for a team to help guide them through this next 10, 15, 20-year time frame. And that's exactly what our firm's there to do. And it all starts that discovery meeting where we just get to know each other and see if we're a good fit, go through our firm's history and our process, and again, just get to understand a little bit more about you and your family and see if we're the ones to help get you to and through retirement.
Again, that number is 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526. Call that number today and set up a time to have a conversation with Logan Sadler. Now, what you need to do is leave your name and your phone number. You'll get a call back from the good folks at Regary Financial. Set that time at a convenient time, and then you can have your conversation with Logan. It's a discovery meeting, no cost, no obligation whatsoever. Why not make today the day that you stop procrastinating? And we all do that. I'm one of the worst procrastinators, and that's a bad habit to get into. 888-823-PLAN. Logan, it's been a lot of fun today, buddy.
Hey, yeah, I agree with you. I enjoy this every week, and I appreciate each and everybody stopping by. And hopefully you do again next week. If you would got some time on your hands and want to check out some of the content, head over to YouTube. And Ron, I appreciate your time, and we'll be back again next week.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great week. Join us next time on the next edition of The Financial Beat.
Regary Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. and BD Financial Group, Inc. are separate and independent entities. The information provided in this presentation is presented for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice, nor does it constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities.